Okay, so I want to make a really cute little courtyard for this building I have here, and I want to do it on this plane. So I figured I'd record the process so people can follow along and we can kind of build this together. For context, I live in Savannah, and there's just a lot of really, really pretty little courtyards and areas like these, which you can just find. And I am a sucker for this type of environment, so I figured it might be kind of fun to try and build one ourselves. So the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out exactly where we want this camera to be. I kind of want it to be looking in, and I'm thinking we'll put, let me draw real fast. There'll be a wall here, and then maybe some sort of low wall here, and then something going this way, and then in here could be a fountain or something nice. So basically there'd be a walkway here, something in here, and like a brick wall here and a brick wall here. If you can like decipher any of the awful scribbles I just made, good for you. But also if you could decipher that, there is something deeply wrong with you, so I advise getting some professional help that I cannot offer in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. I just want to lay out the basic work here for where the walls and stuff are going to be. And throughout this video, I'm going to be using some assets that I showed how to make in previous videos. So you may have to go back and find a few of those. If necessary, I can link them within this video so it's easier for you to find. But again, I'm not going to go through how to make everything in this video. I'm just going to show how I would make stuff, and I will supply things as needed. So I'm going to just lay out the basic wall, starting with, let's make this wall on the side here. And I realize we need to move the camera, which is what I initially said I was going to do, and then I never did. So let's position it around where we want it, to somewhere in here, to line camera to view, like so. And let's honestly change the aspect ratio here. I'm going to make it 720 by 1280, or maybe actually even by 1080. So we get kind of a wider view, and I want it to be vertical because we're gonna like fill in with some trees and vines and stuff. And let's just loosen up this camera angle just a little bit like this, and make it moved over just a bit like so, and tilt it in, something like this. We can work this out a bit more later. I'm going to tab into edit mode and then just start sculpting up this wall. So let's just drag this out along the y-axis like so. And let's just make this a bit taller. And drag it over just a little bit. Like that. Again, with this camera angle, I kind of want to see a little bit more of this wall. So, I don't know. We'll figure this all out later. Um, we'll just do the visual effects kind of mentality of we'll fix it in post when it starts to look bad. I'm just going to duplicate over this wall to here. I'm just going to take this in edit mode, make it low, something like that. And let's just drag this back maybe to about here. And I'm going to extrude it off a little bit more. Select this edge, Alt-E, extrude it again. Let's just drag it over like that. So now we have a little something like this. We could even put a little fence on top of here or something. Going back, I know I said I wanted to do this camera vertical, but I think we can just see more if we keep it horizontal. So I'm going to switch these layers back. I'm going to do 1280 by 720, and then have it be more like this. Rotate it just a little bit, and I might move this wall in a little bit too, something like this. And let's just preemptively get some textures on here just so we can kind of see what we're doing. I'm going to go into rendered view. I am in cycles, just for anyone who's wondering. And let's just get a new brick texture on. Before I do anything else, I also want to apply the scale. So I'm going to do Control A, and then scale, and then Control A for this, scale. And let's get in a brick texture. So I'm going to go to all my texture files here and just load in a picture of bricks like this. I just got this off the internet. It's very easy to find brick textures. They're very common. I'm going to U to unwrap, then we're going to do cube projection like this. And I'm going to select this. I'm going to also give this the brick texture, A to select everything, U, cube projection unwrap like this. And these bricks are comically sized, so I'm going to go into UV editing so we can work them out a bit better. So I'm going to select all these bricks. I'm just going to scale them up like this until they're nice and like a good size. And I even want to kind of line them up a little bit so they work on the edges, but that's just kind of a little bit of extra polish. I'm going to select these tops. I'm just going to rotate these around so they make a little bit more sense, like this. And then this looks a bit odd, so I'm going to select all this. I'm going to just drag it down or up until it matches a bit more. I'm going to select these face, and I'm just going to move it so it matches up a bit better with what is happening on the sides. It's close enough for rock and roll. All right, so now we got some bricks in there, which is good. And let us go ahead and just think about what we have here. So I want to make this ground be also a sort of brick texture. But one thing you'll notice, especially in streets like this, is it's very uneven ground. Like it's very, very choppy. So let's go in and try and kind of recreate that. So I'm going to actually just, let's see. I'm going to tab into edit mode for this plane. I'm going to add in an edge loop here and drag it over to kind of where we need it. And maybe actually it's about to here. So that way we have this whole part edged off. I'm going to just select this face, Shift D to duplicate, and I'm going to do P, separate by selection. So now this is its own layer. I'm going to just drag this up a little bit so it's a bit above the other. I'm going to take this and I'm going to apply that brick texture to it. I'm going to U cube projection and just scale it so it looks a bit more acceptable because it's kind of a ridiculous size right now. Maybe something like that could be good. Or maybe even, because these are still some big bricks, just make it nice and small like this. And let's go back in the layout. And I'm going to go to viewport shading so I can see it a bit more real time. I'm going to tab into edit mode. And let's see. I want to see if I can just add in enough loop cuts to perfectly outline all the bricks that we have. I want to see if I can just do this by guessing because I really don't want to go through and count every single brick. I think that's too small. So if you guys ever wonder what I'm up to when I'm working on projects, it's just a lot of this, just a lot of trial and error with these god-forsaken bricks. I think that's good enough for our purposes right now, honestly. I'm just gonna add in some more loop cuts where the brick lines are, like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you have the time and are willing to spend it, then go the extra mile and make sure these are all lined up. But because I don't really want to spend too much extra time on this, I'm just going to do it like this, pretty loose. I'm just going to select some spaces where I know there's bricks. Like these. at a certain point, it doesn't matter too much what you select. We just want to give it a little bit of extra definition so there's not just one flat texture. Like I just want it to have a little bit more noise, so to speak, so that it's a bit more engaging to look at. So once you get a few rows of bricks selected, what you're going to want to do is eye to inset just a little bit. We're just going to drag them up on the Z like this. Now I'm going to select a few more. And at this point, it doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to select random stuff because again, this is all basically visual noise. If you can see it well on the camera, I would advise going the extra mile again. But if you can't, it doesn't matter too much. We're just trying to give it that illusion that there's more detail than there really is because we're lazy. I'm going to do eye to inset. I'm going to drag these down just a little bit. So then we go back to rendered view. Now you can see we've got some extra little bump in there, and it's going to catch the light just a little bit differently, which I think will be really cool. Let's go ahead, let's take this edge. I'm just going to select this here. Let's see, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a bevel, like that. I'm going to select this edge, do the same thing, just so it's nice and smooth. And let's see, let's add in some foliage now, get that ball rolling. I want to add in some trees and stuff in here and maybe some trees coming over the edge here because I want the light to kind of cascade through. So I'm going to drag open the asset browser here and I'm just going to select some of my trees that I have. Now I do have a tutorial for making these that I made a while back. So I'm just going to pull up. Oh man, what did I call them? This is the other part because this is going to be a pretty uncut video, so it's going to be like my stream of consciousness. So you get to see in real time me losing sanity. So I have these plants, that's what I called them. I'm just going to drag them in, and again I have a tutorial on how to make them because it's quite easy. And basically with these, I'm going to take them just over the wall like so. And I want them to just be visible over the top, so I'm just going to duplicate them around like that and rotate them and kind of scale them so that they look good. And just kind of make a few little tree clusters like this. And I'm doing Alt-D to duplicate, which will just duplicate them as instances, which is going to be a lot less taxing on your system. So I recommend doing it like that as opposed to doing Shift-D, which will just make a straight duplication. So I'm just going to add in a different one now. Let's see. So I'm going to Alt-D to duplicate this over. And then drag this into Splice. Let's see. And then I'm going to Alt-D again, put one back here, make it nice and big, something like this. That's looking kind of good. I'm going to just take these and I'm going to Alt-D, duplicate them, and drag them back along here like this. And you may wonder, why are we doing that? Well, it's because I'm going to change the lighting at some point so we get the lighting coming over a bit more, and it will be nice to have that little extra bits of shadow coming through. Now I'm going to work in here. So I'm going to keep doing what I was doing. Let's get one of these sycamores down here. I think that's what this is. Yeah. And just put this in, kind of loose and dirty. And again, we're going for like a lot of green noise with this. Like it doesn't have to look perfect. It's just got to be readable to be, oh, this is trees, this is foliage, because it's very, very chaotic in nature. So we're trying to capture that. And the problem of doing it CG is it's all very organized because it's, computer generated. And so we're trying to just break that by making this be like as chaotic and crazy as we can make it, like about it getting too off the rails. So I'm keeping this pretty loose. I'm basically just going to let it do whatever unless it starts looking really bad in the camera view, because that's kind of like our one parameter here we have to follow is we have to make sure things look good in the camera view, because that, again, is the most important part. I kind of want to make some vines or something coming down from here. So I have some photo scans of vines. I can't link these, unfortunately, because they're not mine, but I will be doing a video on photo scanning before too long, so I can show you how you can make your own. And I'm just going to drag these into place too. So I want these to kind of just line this wall just a little bit. And so I'll put a few in here. And photo scans are nice because they're pretty malleable. You can just drag and stretch and do mostly whatever you want, and they'll hold up for the most part, especially if you use a lot of them at once, because they work well when they're all kind of mushed together. So this is how I would use them to their full ability, is to just kind of smush them in my project like this. Something like this is looking good. We could even do the same to here. Or we could do something else too. Let's see. I kind of want there to be some plants or something lining in here. So let's look for another plant. We could put in some moss, could be good. So I'm going to go through yet another technique that really works well. I'm just going to drag some moss into the scene. I'm going to make a new file first called a scatter. And I'm just going to select a few different moss types and just drag them in. Oh, can I only do one at once? Interesting. That's too bad. All right. Well, I'll drag in these, and I'm going to select this plane here. And let me see, how do you do this again? So I'm going to select the moss, I'm going to select the plane, I'm going to go to the toolkit here, and I'm going to use the object scatter. So I'm going to do space scatter objects, and then you can just draw them in basically. And you'll have to take out the normal rotation and turn the rotation to 0. And then we spawn them in. It's going to show a bunch of little moss scatters. So it's a really good way to get some moss in. A little clarification, to bring up the search bar here, I have mine set as space, and I have the play bar set as P. So if you have your default settings, it's probably not going to be space, so you'll have to search it differently. And I think, yeah, Object Scatter is an add-on, so you'll have to go into the Add-ons tab to add this in, but it's very quick to do. So without further ado, I'm going to go through and I'm going to just try and make this look nice and natural. So I'm just going to add in some moss along the sides here. And I'm going to turn down the density just a little bit. I'm going to turn up the scale, spawn that in. I'm going to select a different moss, select this. Object scatter. I'm going to give it the same treatment, like so. Spawn that in. I'm going to select this puffy one, select this, object scatter. I'm going to go through and just line it like that. And I'm going to do some of that to this brick wall too. So I'm actually going to select multiple of these at once. I'm going to select this wall. object scatter. And I'm just going to scatter some along the top, like this. And object scatter. Actually, it might turn up the density just a little bit. I don't want this to just be crazy thick. Something like this, like just a ridiculous amount of moss growing on here. And I'm going to take these plants because I just want to blend this line between where the moss starts and where the plants ends. So I'm just going to take some of these, just duplicate them again, just drag them around. I can actually just rotate this whole selection so they're a little offset from each other. Just drag them in over the wall like that. Something like that. It's looking kind of neat. And let's just give this like its own new material. I'm going to just add in an image texture. I'm going to just open some sort of grounds. Let's see. I'm just going to search for like a mossy texture like that, just so it has a little something. And I'm just going to turn up the roughness like this. Now I kind of want to go back and fix some of the lighting because I'm not a huge fan of what it's doing right now. So I'm going to go in to the world. I'm going to select a different HDRI. Kind of want something with cascading light. Something like this is pretty, actually. Actually really like that. I have the node wrangler enabled, so I'm going to Control T to add in a texture in a mapping node. And I'm just going to, let's see, rotate the world just a little bit so more of that orange light is going to come over the hill here, or over the wall. I'm just going to rotate this a little bit to get just a bit more of that in, like this. And I kind of want there to be some volumetrics. So I'm going to do Shift A, add in a cube. Let's make it nice and big. And I'm going to do new. Just call this volume. Let's change this to, well, we want to get rid of the surface, and we're going to want to go to volume. We want to do volume scatter. I'm going to make this 0.1. Ooh, we have some light rays coming through. That's nice. That's real nice. I want to make this a bit more subtle, 0.05. Something like that. Looks kind of nice. I almost want to add in some little lights or something kind of cute, because I feel like it's just so sterile looking. And I also want to play with these bricks for the brick texture, because it's also very, very like flat looking. I'm going to plug this color into the normal. I'm going to add in a bump. Plug that into the height. We're going to do 0.1. And then we're going to do 0.1 for this as well, just to give it a little bit of extra definition. And then I'm also going to mix this here. I'm going to add in a mix color. And I'm going to find a mossy texture. I might just honestly use the one I used for the ground plane. And I'm going to plug that in here like this. And that's already looking a lot better. It sticks out a lot less. And I think I might just leave it like that for right now. It could be cool to have some puddles and stuff on the ground here. So I'm just gonna hide this fog for now. And I'm going to make a puddle plane, basically is the best way I could call it. I'm just gonna drag this over here. Just make it a bit bigger. And make it nice and long. A little bit wider. Like so. I'm going to make a new material here. And we'll just call this puddle plane. I am going to delete this. I'm going to add in a glass, plug it in. So now we just have pure reflectivity, and that's not really what we want. So I'm going to add in a transparent. I'm going to add in a mix shader. I'm going to plug these both in here. And I'm going to add in a Musgrave texture. I'm going to plug this into the factor. So if you can see, this is what it's looking like right now. And I want to change the dimension. I want this to be, let's see, closer to 1. I'm going to turn the detail up like so. And I want the scale to be larger like this. I just want there to be some little patches basically of water and little patches of not. And I'm going to add in a color ramp so we can really just tweak this. All right, let's see. Something like that could be good. I'm just going to also turn down the roughness just a little bit like this. That looks nice. Just to add like a little bit of extra oomph down here. And let's add in some little lights. I'm going to see if I have anything that fits right now. I really don't, so let's just model a little light real fast. There's one I just saw in here that was so cute that I think would work perfectly. Yeah. These type of lights, we're going to make a little something like that. So we're just going to model this real fast, and wow, having the landscape rotated like this is very disorienting, but that's okay because we'll be done very soon. Just going to add in a new file collection. We're going to call this lights. I'm going to just add a cube. I'll just bring it up in the world so we can see what we're doing. I'm just going to scale it down. Nice and small, drag it up like this. I'm going to select these faces around the sides. I'm going to double click I so I can inset them all separately. Alt E to extrude along normals like so. And then in the onion skin layer, I'm going to just, let's see. I'm going to select this bottom face, duplicate it, and drag it up. So we have a little floor. And I'd inset this. Drag it up like this. I'd inset again, drag it up. This is gonna be the light. And let's just take this, I'd inset, make it dragged up like this. I'll E extrude along normals. And I don't want this to go down quite so far, maybe something a little more like this. Bring it up. I'm gonna just make a new face here, drag it out like that. And I'm just going to shrink this down like this. Perfect. Maybe just drag in a little bit, like so. Let's go in to the shading. Let's give this some materials. I'm just gonna give it an overall kind of dark material. Then I'm going to go through and select what would be the windows. And I'm going to make it a new glass material. So I'm just going to add in that glass, plug it in. And then, let's see, I'm going to select what I said was going to be the light. And then I'm just going to give it an emission. This, make it kind of orange, make it 5 or something. Something nice and just a little bit bright. And then we can position this along the wall. Like so. Something like that. Let's take another one. Just position it back here on the building. Put it up nice and high. Let's add back in that fog. Let's see. So I'm gonna tweak the color on this a little bit. I'm gonna make it a little bit more orange, like that. I also want to add in some little point lights so that we have a little bit of extra light being emitted from these areas where the light sources are supposed to be. So I'm just going to Alt-D to duplicate so I can change all the colors and all the strengths at the same time. Keep it rendered. Let's put it back in the fog. Let's make this be orange again. Let's turn this up. Nice and bright. I like that. I'm going to give this a render, and then I will get back to you after the final thing is rendered. Okay, so here's the final product. There's a few post-processing effects on here, and I added some depth of field, but this is basically what we've created over the last, I don't know how long this has been going for, 35 minutes. I hope some people find this enjoyable and helpful to watch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.